Hi, my name is Shelby, and I'm the finance director for Dance Marathon at FSU.
Hi, my name's Darcy, and I'm the executive director for Dance Marathon at FSU this year. And we're super excited to be talking to you guys about maximizing external participant fundraising this year.
To jump right in, we wanted to give y'all some background and some context as to how we maximized external participant fundraising through making a series of changes within our program. This might be an unconventional way to start this presentation, but in all honesty, the changes that we made in this past year to maximize our external participant engagement and fundraising were caused by a series of failures. We saw a series of fundraising pushes and events that underperformed, and we reached a point in the year where reaching our goal did not seem possible, and where continuing our program's legacy of raising over $1 million seemed highly unlikely. I'm sure everyone in this room knows how important the first number in your total reveal is, and it reached a point where ours was in extreme jeopardy. While financial transparency conversations of this sort are never fun to have with an executive board, they can sometimes be necessary, and in most cases, they can be beneficial. We aren't going to sit up here and tell y'all all the ways this past year went wrong, even though we certainly could. Instead, we want to explain some of the changes that we made throughout the year to turn things around and how we recovered from some of these fall setbacks and struggles.
So, one of the first efforts we made to improve the state of our program was starting off by taking a new approach when it came to our delegates. And for reference, a delegate in our organization is the team captain in charge of their external organization's group of participants. So, towards the beginning of the year, it was easy to feel the need to present things in an easier or less stressful way to our team captains, just in an attempt to ease them into their positions or as a way to avoid overwhelming them. But after the first few fundraising pushes of the year, it became clear that delegates lacked a sense of responsibility over their teams, and in most cases, didn't see the importance of engaging in Dance Marathon other than engaging with their own team of external participants. So, by shifting gears and beginning to challenge delegates by giving them higher goals, bigger expectations, emphasizing working together, and creating a tier system where organizations were broken up by their quantity of dancers rather than by the type of organization they belong to, we were able to be more intentional about competition between organizations of similar sizes and be able to challenge team captains to be the reason their organization reached new heights, as well as create a sense of dependency and reliability among our team captains. Another way to do this was, in some cases, setting unexpected goals, which helped the team feel a need to prove us wrong and continue to strive towards new levels and truly realize just how large of a role they had in the success of external engagement and fundraising. So, in a similar effort, we decided to change how internal as a whole approached external participants. So, first, as most of us know, being involved in Dance Marathon requires being able to positively speak about our cause and initiatives on the spot. So, in other words, recruitment just isn't a job for the recruitment team, but rather a representation on how others speak on experiences within our organization. We also realize that engagement and excitement requires a top-down focus. So that if the highest levels of your internal teams are not excited and ready to give DM their all, how can you expect lower levels to be? And if internal isn't bought in, how can you expect external to be? We really saw this come into fruition during our spring fundraising push, but by being financially transparent with our executive board about our current position for the year financially, they understood the uphill battle that we would be facing for the remainder of the year to not only hit our fundraising goal, but to also continue the legacy of Dance Marathon at FSU being a $1 million program. This sense of urgency and responsibility helped to wake exec up, if you will, and realize that their contribution to the total raise during the year was so much larger than just their personal fundraising efforts or even their position title, but instead how they discussed fundraising with their teams, how they supported Dance Marathon on a daily basis, and how they helped spread Dance Marathon to others on campus. So 3 ways we were able to get internal to take on more responsibility with external was 1, by encouraging our exec members that are involved in external organizations to reach out to their delegates to offer them additional support throughout the year. 2, by having the internal teams work closely with their paired external organization just to provide even more assistance from another perspective. And 3, by really emphasizing the top-down focus that we touched on earlier of enthusiasm and positivity towards Dance Marathon. Again, meaning exec needs to be displaying that enthusiasm so that internal is eager and excited, which will eventually hopefully result in external participants being more excited and willing to participate.
Shifting gears a little bit, we want to talk about how changing the ways in which we were financially transparent and used data to drive some of our decisions helped in engaging our external participants and increasing their fundraising. It can be overwhelming and discouraging to have to share with your executive board or internal team that an event or fundraising push isn't going as planned. It can be even harder to have a conversation with your team about your organization overall being in a bad financial position. Deciding to be honest with our team last year was not an easy choice in the slightest. It wasn't easy to share the bad news, and it certainly wasn't easy for them to hear either. But by being financially transparent with our team, it allowed for everyone to keep our financial position in mind when we made choices moving forward, and we were able to make intentional changes that eventually led to some great success. Some of the ways that we were able to give our internal teams some more financial information without giving everyone full access was through strategic meetings centered around fundraising for our external participants. We held weekly finance relations meetings with our dancer relations, finance, and fundraising development teams to share fundraising updates and to evaluate, brainstorm, and strategize external fundraising initiatives. These meetings played a huge role in some of our big pushes, as well as planning for marathon, or even just at times when we needed to create new ideas or initiatives when current efforts weren't working. In a similar effort to give our executive board some direction in being financially transparent with their own teams, our finance team began creating weekly finance updates that were specific to each team. These consisted of a goal for each week, as well as a list of checkpoints that could be used to help fundraising efforts. Some of these checkpoints included who didn't have a Facebook fundraiser yet, who had already surpassed their fundraising goal and was encouraged to raise it, or who hadn't reached their positional goal yet and could probably use some more one-on-one support from their executive board member. Again, just to be more financially transparent with groups across our organization, we also wanted to be more financially transparent with our delegates or team captains. For this effort, we provided a spreadsheet for each org that you can see up on the screen that kind of detailed who had signed up to be a participant on that team, and then it gave some information about them, including contact information for the team captain to be able to reach out to them and help with their fundraising. It also included some of those checkpoints that we had mentioned earlier, like who had a Facebook fundraiser, who had reached dancer minimum, and how far the participant was from their next milestone. These all just gave delegates or team captains more support in how they reached out or how they best understood the position of their participants and their organization as a whole in terms of their fundraising successes for the year. Kind of switching gears a little bit, we want to talk about meeting participants where they're at. This was a place that we needed to make a lot of changes this past year, and in making those changes, somewhere that we saw a lot of success. By being more intentional on engagement efforts, we were able to engage with external participants in the way that they wanted rather than expecting their interests to change our wants. It can be really easy to just copy and paste an event from the previous year or stick true to traditions that have run on for close to 30 years. But some of those traditions need to be changed to adjust to how our current participants want to interact and engage with Dance Marathon. Everyone's participation or interest level is going to vary a little bit, so you're not going to make everyone happy, but by changing events and activities to better fit the experience that participants are looking for, we saw some really good success. Some of the ways that we did this were by setting up basketball or spike ball or volleyball whenever we were tabling or even in the marathon to get some of our team sports engaged or some more of our IFC participants. We also worked really closely with our Panhellenic Association to host Seasons Greetings, which was a like winter festival type event. A lot of our external participants are involved in the Panhellenic community, so by working with Panhellenic to host this collaborative event, we were able to engage with a lot of people that do participate within Dance Marathon, just in a different way and in a different atmosphere. And we were able to help spread Dance Marathon to other members of the Panhellenic community in a way that they were already familiar with. By focusing on how Dance Marathon can be fun and enjoyable for each of our different participant groups, and by focusing on how they want to be involved rather than how we want them to be involved, we were able to see a lot more people attending our events and looking forward to attending things like our marathon. Some people are going to care on a much deeper level than others, while some are just looking for something fun to participate in on campus. So, by meeting them at the level of engagement or involvement that they want, we were able to expand kind of our network of participants on campus. We also did this by having very intentional segmented communication designed to target each of our groups. So, whether we're messaging someone in an IFC organization or doing individual reach outs from a team member or having team captains reach out to their members, each of those messages were changed a little bit to best fit the target audience and best get across the message that we were trying to convey to our participants in a way that was going to be understandable and accepted kind of by them to fit what they're looking for out of this organization and contact them in that way to share events that they would like to participate or efforts that they would be interested in. We realize that it comes across a lot more authentic when we acknowledge that our participants are different and help support their varying levels of participation rather than trying to change them all into the perfect external dancer.
So overall, none of the changes saw immediate success or changed the course of our year alone, but each of the steps that we previously touched on definitely helped us slowly turn the year around and lead to levels of success in the spring semester that honestly seemed absolutely unachievable after fall semester. So first on the left, we saw a 55.15% increase in dedication week, which is the final week for our dancers to reach the dancer minimum required to earn an invite to our main event. This week took place in the spring and was widely successful due to the delegates, also known as team captains, a sense of urgency and responsibility to ensure their organization had a prominent presence at our main event. And by giving delegates large goals, we challenged them to prove just what they were capable of and leaned into this being their legacy to leave not only on Dance Marathon, but also with their organization. We also saw a 48.56% increase in our spring fundraising push, as well as a 12.31% increase in external marathon attendance. And we were able to do this by implementing practices of financial transparency, meeting participants where they're at, and emphasizing internal's responsibility towards external.
Just to kind of sum up everything that we've talked about today, some of the big changes that we made this past year that helped us in maximizing external participation and fundraising were by making sure that internal teams took responsibility toward external participation, being financially transparent with our internal teams and with our team captains as much as possible, because financial transparency doesn't always have to be scary and it can be super beneficial. Meeting participants where they're at and engaging with them at their interest levels, and making sure that we knew that it was okay to move away from traditions in order to focus on current success. While making large changes isn't always the most ideal situation, it is sometimes very needed. That was something that we realized, and we realized that what we were doing and what we had historically done in the past was no longer working and changes had to be made. Some of the changes that we made that led to seeing a large improvement in external participation included adjusting our engagement plans to meet external participants where they were at, reminding internal of their responsibility toward external, and making sure that involvement in activities geared toward external in were authentic and reaching out to the external community, because recruitment is a job for all, not a job just for the recruitment team.
So as we go into our milestone 30th year, we plan to hold on to these practices that we have learned this past year and apply them into our future plans. So first, we'll definitely continue to meet dancers where they're at. We plan to do this by streamlining the process in which external participants register. We'll also continue to emphasize the importance of cause connection. And one way we're planning to do this is by changing the dancer minimum to be an impact number. Third, we'll also continue to work on preparing all of our internal teams to recruit and talk positively about our organization. And we'll do this by teaching recruitment strategies to internal teams early on. And last, but definitely not least, we're going to continue to practice financial transparency. And one way that we've already started doing this so far is by providing our exec members with a goal range early on, just to allow for updates throughout the year. Well, thank you so much for listening to our presentation. Our emails are shown on the screen, so please don't hesitate to reach out to either of us if you have any questions at all about our presentation.